Watch me as I break this thing down. Now we're gonna do this thing together. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Stand on Business. Today we're gonna keep it cute and get right into it, right? What are we standing for? Well, in today's episode, I feel like we need to learn how to be better decision makers. I think that a lot of us are just winging it and it shows. So, as basic as this conversation might seem, I think it's important to learn how to make good decisions and how to identify when you're in the habit of making bad decisions. Don't worry, y'all. I'm not judging you. Honestly, I make a lot of these episodes because it's things that I needed to hear and needed some clarity on and didn't have anybody in my life that could actually either have the energy to teach this to me or just knew what to teach to me. Because like I said, a lot of us just wing it and it shows. So let's get into it. Great decision making is both an art and a science. I think that a solid framework helps you move forward with clarity and confidence. Unfortunately, a lot of us, like I said, were never taught how to actually make decisions. Most of us were either winging it or doing as we were told because it's what we're used to. It feels safer. It gives us a fall guy if shit goes wrong. Let's be real. Truth is, making decisions comes with responsibilities. Yes, but it also comes with freedom. And to me, learning how to make decisions that are within, that are just aligned with you and your energy is a really big part of self-love, too. So what are the steps for effective decision making? 1, clarify the decision. Let's think about what exactly needs to be decided. Sometimes we go off on tangents. Sometimes our thoughts can flood our minds. It's like having a million tabs open online. You're not going to be able to focus on any of them. So let's define the scope and the desired outcome. What are we looking to decide? And what do we want to get out of this? So clarify the decision you're trying to make. Let's think about what question are we trying to answer? 2, gather relevant information. See, this is the research portion that we never do, right? I don't know about y'all, but a lot of people that I know just love making shit up. Like, you're not Google, bro. Why are you making random facts up, random prices up, random things up, random studies, statistics? That's so dangerous. We don't do research, and we don't dig beneath the surface when it comes to even small decisions in our lives, right? So, yeah, gather relevant information. Look at facts. Look at emotional cues, situational dynamics. In emotional context, because sometimes you're making emotional decisions. You're not necessarily researching some shit that you can look up on Wall Street Journal or whatever, right? Or in someone's thesis paper or published research. In emotional context, consider internal patterns or triggers that may be influencing you. Consider examples of things that can show you what might happen in the scenario that you make one choice versus the other. Ask for advice from people that you know have been through these situations or have faced similar dilemmas. Talk to AI if that is your preference. But do some kind of research. 3, identify your options. List all available choices, even the ones that feel uncomfortable or unconventional. And write things down, right? Like, I don't know what we have against writing things down. It's like if we're not smart if we write things down because we can't memorize everything. This is not like a test of functionality. Write things down. It's all right. So list all available choices, even the ones that feel uncomfortable or unconventional. 4, evaluate the pros and the cons. use logic and intuition here. We are very spiritual beings, so I think intuition has a really big place here. But I also think we have to intertwine that with logic as well and research. And when we do that, we are damn near unstoppable. For emotional decisions, weigh how each option supports your values, your boundaries, or your healing, or whatever your goal may be, right? If it's just to make more money, like evaluate if the decision will actually lead you to that path. And if it does lead you to that path, what would you have to give up to get there? And is it worth it, right? Evaluate the pros and cons. And again, I know that some of these things may seem like, well, obviously, duh. But think about how many decisions you have to make on a daily basis and how often we go through this process for the bigger decisions. Like most times we can't even decide what we want to eat. Let's be real. Let alone where we want to live, what we want to do for work, what is our passion, what is a hobby, what do we want in our relationships, do we want friends, who do we want to be, what do we want to look like. We get tired, but why are you tired of creating yourself in your life? I would think we would be more tired of being controlled. So I would urge us to think about it from that perspective and take on more decision making, actually. Okay, next. Assess risks and consequences. What could go wrong? What does success look like? Consider short-term impact versus long-term growth. This is different than pros and cons, right? Pros and cons is just thinking about possible paths. Assess the risks and consequences is just once you've chosen that path, let's think about the nuances in those decisions so that we can understand how the scenario will play out fully. I think that's so important because we never get that thorough. And then we're genuinely surprised when shit doesn't go our way, even though we left things up to chance. And a lot of things can be avoided. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be like a fortune teller and be able to make every decision at the highest capacity and be perfect. No one's saying we're going to be perfect here. But going through some of these things and thinking about some of these things for at least some of the more important decisions in your life, I think will help us come closer to manifesting the day-to-day that we want for ourselves. And that's important. Next, you want to align with personal values because some options might be available, but they might even be good options, but they might not be good for you because they don't align with your personal values. And I think sometimes we go against that, and that's our core. So if we go against our core, it ultimately isn't going to work out. So I think that it's really important that even though you find good options, that they're still in alignment with who you are, assuming you know who that is. So does this decision support your integrity, your interests, or your deeper goals? This step really helps you filter out your choices that might be made from guilt, shame, or external pressure as opposed to what's actually good for you and what you actually want. So I'm going to say that again. Thinking about what aligns with your personal values helps filter out choices made from guilt, shame, or external pressure. A lot of times the decisions we make are out of guilt, shame, or external pressure. It's not even things that we want to do or decisions we want to make, but it's decisions we feel we have to make. And then we are unhappy and unable to deal with what comes next, or unwilling to deal with what comes next. I think we need to love ourselves a little bit deeper and explore who we are and what we want a little more than that. And again, I'm not judging nobody. This is coming from someone who never knows what the fuck they want to eat and who is just now learning the beauty of decision making, making choices, and getting the things you want or shaping the day-to-day that you want. So I am very much on this journey with y'all. So I'm really talking to myself, if that make y'all feel better. All right. Next, make the decision. Commit to your choice with intention, even if you feel some uncertainty. There's never like this super this is the perfect choice, because nothing is ever perfect. So, and everything's going to take a little work and commitment to make it happen. So, you're eventually just going to have to pick something. Sometimes you have a lot of good options. Sometimes you're picking the best out of the worst options. But you just have to pick something at the end of the day. After all the research, after the alignment with the values, after thinking about things and going through the motions, like I said, you might have multiple options that might work. And then in that case, you have to create a value system to figure out how you want to eliminate it. Maybe it's the pros and the cons. Maybe one has more pros than the other. However you decide to value that. Or it might be something that you just wanted more than the other one. But now you have some good options to choose from. So commit to your choice with intention, even if you feel some uncertainty. Now, after you make the decision, yes, you still have things to do, right? You have to take action. So you have to implement the steps to move forward and own the outcome. Own it. Sometimes we made a great decision. Sometimes things don't work out the way we planned. If you're not failing, you're not trying. You're not learning. So take chances, take risks, make decisions, implement steps, see it all the way through. Sometimes after you make a decision, it takes more work to get to the outcome that you want. So put in the work. Sometimes we make a good decision but don't put in the work, and then we feel like it was a bad decision when it wasn't. It's just we didn't follow through with a good decision. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and the last one is reflect and adjust. Things don't stay the same. Society doesn't stay the same. You don't stay the same. Your preferences don't stay the same. Things change. So don't be lazy. We are very lazy. Like, we want to set things and forget them and have things be automated, but sometimes that's not the case. And again, when I say y'all, I mean me. I'm talking to me, because this is all me right here, for real. But I'm learning. I'm learning how to be more intentional about my decision making, especially as an artist. What I want to wear, what I want to look like, what I want to sound like. I mean, I used to be like, well, I don't know. I could do this, I could do that. Yes, you could be and do anything, but what are you choosing? That becomes your identity. Okay, so now we know how to go through the motions of making a good decision, or what we think would be a better decision, or how to narrow things down for good options so that no matter what decision we make, we can work it out. But let's be real, a lot of us make bad decisions. So let's talk about bad decision making for a little bit. What does a bad decision look like? What does the process for bad decision making look like? Where does that stem from? And how can we avoid it? Bad decision making often leaves behind a trail of frustration, regret, or unintended consequences. Shit is out of control, right? Long story short. Here are some clear signs that a decision might be off track, or that you might be a bad decision maker, or going against your good, instincts. Behavioral and emotional red flags. 1, you're ignoring your gut feeling. You have all done this. We have all done this. I know we've done this. You've gotten this real big feeling in your stomach, and you know you shouldn't be doing something, or you know you should have been doing something, and you don't. And then shit works out exactly how you thought it would, except you didn't do what you said you were supposed to do, or that you wanted to do. So 1 red flag is ignoring your gut feeling. If you feel like you are going against your gut, chances are you are making the wrong decision. That subtle discomfort or unease is your intuition. It's waving a red flag. It is trying to save you from something. And you are just not catching up in terms of the decision making. So, one sign that you might be off track, you're ignoring your gut feeling. That's never an indicator of good decision making. 2, you're overwhelmed by emotions. You should never make decisions when super emotional. And I know that's hard because sometimes it's really hard to detach yourself from what you're trying to decide. But if you're really, really committed to making a good decision, you have to make a decision not out of guilt or shame or anger or fear. It has to be from logic. So decisions made in anger, fear, or desperation tend to bypass logic and any kind of long-term thinking. So even though those decisions might satisfy us in the short term, they often don't do anything for us in the long term. So ignoring your gut feeling is one of them, and being overwhelmed by emotions while trying to make a decision is usually a sign that you're going to make a bad decision. 3, rushing the process. That's self-explanatory. Acting impulsively or under pressure without proper reflection can lead to regret, and not just can, will lead to regret. You're rushing the process, you're not thinking things through, and oftentimes you miss out on greater opportunity because you didn't just hesitate a little and look at the details of each option. So if you're rushing the process, probably about to make a bad decision. 4, avoiding input from others. If you find yourself in a place, now it's interesting, right? Because yes, you have to know yourself, you have to be able to make your own decisions. But if you're completely closed off to anything anyone has to say, that might be an indicator that you're making a bad decision and you're trying to rationalize things in your head and you're blocking other people out because you know that there's something wrong with what you're doing and you don't want to hear what they got to say. Now, that's different than I know myself and I'm making my own choices. I don't really need I don't need to outsource opinions, right? That's different than that. That's different than being super secretive and knowing you up to some bull and you just don't want to be checked on it. So you're not going to ask for no advice. So refusing to consult trusted voices or isolating yourself in the process can blindside you and is often an indicator that you're about to make a bad decision. Or you're not going about the decision-making process in a way that's going to give you the best results. Finally, and now these are just the behavioral and emotional red flags, right? So we had ignoring your gut feeling, overwhelmed by emotions, rushing the process, avoiding input from others, and then finally, lying or hiding details, right? We're grown. Why are we hiding or, lying? This is tied into avoiding input from others. You're usually lying because you know something's wrong or you know someone's reaction to what your decision was or what you're doing might not be favorable to you. So you're not being transparent. And if you're not being transparent about your choices, then it might be a signal of internal conflict or shame, which again might be a signal that you're probably making a bad decision. So now we're going to move on to cognitive and strategic warning signs. The first one is confirmation bias. Only seeking evidence that supports you and your preferred option while ignoring contradictory facts. So a lot of people do this. We go out there with a claim that we're trying to prove to be true or a decision that we want to justify. So we are only going to make sure that we are very selective about what we're seeing and what we're accepting as truth. That's the same thing as only talking to the friend that's going to agree with you because they're doing the same things. So that's not research. That is just you looking for support. But that doesn't, while you might feel supported, that's not helping you make a good decision because you're not actually properly doing research. You're not looking at both sides. You have to look at both sides in order to make a good decision. Analysis paralysis. Waiting for the perfect moment or obsessing over every detail can lead to indecision or missed opportunities. So sometimes we don't make any decision at all. These are red flags. If you are stressing over details that have already been established, that's a problem. If you are waiting for the perfect moment, I know a lot of people that are waiting for the perfect moment to do something. There is never a perfect moment to do anything. And you only get better with experience and by trying things. I'm not saying go out there and just try absolutely everything, but I'm saying that there's no perfect moment. So if you're waiting for the aha, ding, fairy tale, glitter in your face, sun is shining and the road just appeared, it's not going to happen. And then I think oftentimes people who are waiting for the perfect moment really obsess over what other people are doing and then change their own trajectory. So then you oftentimes don't get to your own goal because, again, you're still not making decisions. You're just following other people. So analysis paralysis, waiting for the perfect moment or obsessing over every detail can lead to indecision or missed opportunities. The next one is disregarding long-term consequences. Only focusing on the short-term gains often backfires later. I'm going to say it again because I know us hard-headed folk, we got to hear this. Focusing on only short-term gains often backfires later. A lot of us are like, nah, we'll just worry about the future later. We doing too much. And yeah, I think that there's a certain part of it where you can obsess about the future a little too much and then you don't do much, right? That's a part of the analysis paralysis. But I do think that there's a certain balance that needs to happen if you are looking at any scenario. Short term and long term needs to be considered. And depending on what the decision is, right, that might matter more or less, but it still needs to be considered. And I think that a lot of times that's just us being lazy. We don't want to think through things thoroughly. So, well, it benefits me right now, it benefits me tomorrow. The rest of it, I'll just worry about it later. And again, that's going to backfire. And now you probably going to have a lot more stuff to deal with than if you would have just taken the extra couple hours to just think about it. Another red flag or warning sign that you are on the path of making a bad decision is decision fatigue. Making choices when mentally exhausted increases the likelihood of poor judgment. Like I said, on a daily basis, we're making a lot of decisions, or at least we should be making a lot of decisions. In a week, in a month, in a year, it all adds up. It makes sense that we would be tired. It makes sense that we're working a lot. It makes sense that if our schedules are off or if we're not getting enough sleep, we're going to make bad decisions. So if you're tired, if the idea of making a decision makes you tired, that is not the right mental space to be in to make a decision. So chances are any decisions you make in that headspace are not going to serve you much. So I really hope these things help y'all because I think that making good decisions is the key to unlocking, the futures that we want, like the life we want, whatever that might be or look like to you. So, okay, the last one for this section is following social pressure. So if you find yourself following social pressure, societal pressure, family pressure, pressure from friends, pressure from your partner, pressure from that internal troll you have in your head that lives under the bridge in your brain, right? That means that you're probably going to make a bad decision. So choosing based on what others expect rather than what aligns with you and your values and your goals is problematic. Now, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your values or goals are, or if you find yourself in a space where those things are changing, you have to reassess, reevaluate, and realign with yourself. Until you do that, you will not be making good decisions. That's just a fact, coming from experience. So, and all the talent in the world, all the planning in the world won't help you because you won't be in the environment you need to grow. All right, so now we talked about what a good decision making looks like. We talked about what bad decision making looks like and what are some of the signs. We interact with 1,000 new things a day and ideas and things take up our mental real estate. But you have to pause and reflect. You have to pause and reflect often because, like I said, you're changing daily almost, growing daily, or at least you should be. So pause and reflect. Give yourself space to think clearly. Seek quiet spaces to think about making decisions. And decisions you're making. That's important. Sometimes we're in really noisy spaces and can't hear ourselves think. How are you going to organize all this information and put this effort to make real decisions? How are you going to be able to check in with yourself if you can't hear yourself and know, am I working from guilt or shame right now, or am I working out of my best interests? So pause and reflect. Next one is seek diverse perspectives. Whether you think it's going to change your mind or not, it doesn't hurt to just ask people what they think or look at different perspectives. You know who you should be talking to and who you should not be talking to. You know when you're seeking validation for poor judgment versus when you're actually seeking advice. Like, let's be real with yourself. I think it's time for that because you should be loving yourself to the point where you want to mother yourself and be real with yourself. So seek diverse perspectives. Whether you are swayed by them or not does not matter. You are listening to them and you're gathering research and expanding your knowledge, exposing yourself to things that either are A, going to solidify your current decision, or B, expose you to something new that would help you then make a better decision. So it doesn't hurt you. And if you feel like seeking other people's perspectives hurt you, chances are you're closed-minded, you're not growing, and you're making bad decisions. Now, that's not always the case, but chances are 1 + 1 = 2, right? Okay. You need to revisit your values. Does this decision support who you want to be? Not who you are. Who you want to be and what you're working towards. Because we're making decisions. So what are you making decisions for? So that you move forward and you do things and change things up. So you're revisiting your values. Does this decision support who you want to be? And finally, sleep on it. Man, take some time. If you feel so rushed, it probably ain't for you. Or there's probably some hidden things in there that you're going to have to deal with later. So I'd rather sleep on it because rest can reset your body, your mind, your clarity. And it's more likely to reduce emotional bias, which we all have. So one thing you have to be aware of is what bias, right, you might hold. And just consider that. That's all. So like I said in the beginning, making good decisions is part art, part science. And you've already got the curiosity to master both if you're here. So I appreciate y'all being here. We're going to get into a mix of practical strategies and psychological insights to sharpen our decision game before we end this episode of Stand on Business. So, core habits for better decisions. 1, we kind of already talked about it. Recognize your biases. We all have them. We all have them. We all have them. If you think you don't have them, honey, that's going to be your first step to sit down and think about your biases, which is really just your perspective and things that may have shaped you to think a certain way indefinitely. So we all have mental shortcuts, which are called heuristics. Ooh, SAT words. And those things, right, heuristics, mental shortcuts, can cloud your judgment. Spotting, it can cloud your judgment, and it could cause you to not see shit that's right in front of your face too. So that's because you're only looking for what you're looking for. You're not looking at the whole picture. So that's interesting. Spotting them helps you stay objective. Spotting and recognizing your biases helps you stay objective. Staying objective helps you make better decisions. Cool. Next. Frame the problem wisely. How you pose a question influences your response. I'm going to say that again. How you pose a question influences your response. Try rewording the question or the decision at hand to see it from new angles. It might even help you get to the heart of what you're trying to decide. Reflect on past choices. I know this one's hard because it takes a lot of accountability to be like, I did this right, I did this wrong. But reflect on past choices. Regularly review what worked for you and what didn't. That's important. Do more of what worked for you and do less of what didn't. I know that seems so simple, but it's like it's so hard for us to do. It's ridiculous. So learn from both wins and missteps. Like I said, if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking chances. You're not growing. If you're not taking chances, you're not growing, you're not learning, and you will never be successful. So that's what it is. So mistakes, that's not an indicator of lack of success. To me, that is you on the road to success and trying new things. Now, if you keep making the same mistakes over and over, that's different. That's not you learning anything. That's you being stuck in a cycle. There's a difference. So we have to be very specific. We have one of the most powerful computer processors in our brains, right? We have to put that to use. And that means thinking about the minor details that make up a situation so that we can actually address what's in front of us and execute. Challenge your assumptions. Challenge your assumptions. We don't like to be challenged. So at least challenge yourself a little bit. Consider the opposite side of what you believe to test your reasoning. If you are afraid to go there, chances are you probably don't have the support you think you do for the decisions you have made. Because you're afraid to take it there. If you're not afraid to take it there and challenge your assumptions, that means you are pretty solid in what you think and the evidence that you have to support your side. Label your emotions. Naming feelings like anxiety or excitement reduces their intensity and helps you think clearly. Let's say that again. Label your emotions. So that means you have to acknowledge what you're feeling. A lot of us don't like to acknowledge when we're feeling angry, anxious, when we're being judgmental, when we are feeling jealous, when we are not thinking clearly, when we are just being obnoxious, right? Label your emotions. Naming feelings like anxiety. I have anxiety right now. Or excitement will allow you to categorize them, see them as they are, and move on accordingly. So those were our core habits for better decisions. So now we have our habits. Now we need our decision-making techniques. There are a lot of different cute little acronyms and systems that people use and have created over time to help us with decision making. So I'm going to just shed light on 3 of them, and you can figure out, what might work best for you, what you want to take from these. But I think they're really cute. I think they're straight to the point, and I think they might actually help us. The first one is whoop. Whoop that ass. No, I'm just kidding, right? You're whooping it. You picking good decisions. You killing it, right? But whoop. WOOP. That means wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. So I'm going to say that again. Whoop. WOOP. Wish. So what's your wish? What's the outcome? What are the obstacles? And what's the plan? So this is a decision-making technique. Great for goal-oriented decisions. Whoop. Whoop is for goal-oriented decisions. What's my wish? What's my outcome? What's the obstacles? What's the plan? So there's something actionable. There's something that you desire. There's something where you're actually considering how it might play out in the real world. And then there's something where you're thinking about what might be in my way realistically. Because there's always something in your fucking way. So let's be real about this. And let's not be overly optimistic and blind. right? Let's go into things with intention because we know we can actually make them happen. Because I think a lot of times we cut corners because we don't think things are real, we don't think things can change, and we don't think we can actually attain success in real life. We're more scared of success than we are of failure because failure feels familiar, and that's a problem. So stop that. Whoop these goals asses. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Next, SMART. SMART, like SMART. That's another decision-making technique someone created. This stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, ideal for structured planning. So if you are trying to create a goal, like for example, I decided I want to buy a house. So the decision was buying a house. So now you have to be super specific about how to go about that. You have to make it measurable, right? Within what time frame am I trying to buy a house, and what needs to be done within what time frames? Is it achievable? Is this something that I can realistically do based on my current circumstances? Any relevant information that pertains to the situation, and time bound. Again, what is my deadline for everything? What is my overall deadline? When am I trying to achieve this by? When am I trying to start? How much time am I trying to put into it? So SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. This is ideal for structured planning, where WHOOP was great for goal-oriented decisions. So now we have different decision-making techniques and models for different decisions and plans we might be trying to make. Let's get specific. Finally, and again, there's a bunch of these, but these are just the 3 that I found that were really cool. So again, explore what you want, find what works for you. I don't know everything. I am not a therapist or I'm just another human being experiencing life and trying to figure out some of this craziness, because I don't come from a super strong foundation where everybody is successful and they know how to do these things and they're teaching me these things. I don't come from a community or society that wants me to actually think for myself and think critically, right? They just want us to go into the workforce, which is fine if that is good for you. But, work is good, but we are much more than workers. We are thinkers. We are creators. And I think that is also fundamentally important to pour into. So, like I said, take on more decisions. But the last model is GROW, the GROW model. GROW. Goal, reality, options, will. This is useful for coaching yourself through tough choices. I'm going to say that again. The GROW model. Goal, what's your goal? Reality, girl, let's be real. What's your reality? Options. What options are actually in existence for you? Will. What are you actually willing to do? Because you can have all the options in the world. You can have all the keys to all the doors. But which one are you actually willing to walk through? That's important. So, the GROW model. So, we have WHOOP, SMART, GROW. Pick which one that works for you. Start there. But at least we have something in place versus just winging it and wondering why shit never works out for us. I got 2 more categories for y'all. I appreciate y'all sticking with me. I know this is more on the longer side, but I thought this was so important because not all of us have parents and family members who were taught this, who can teach us this. And a lot of us are born into chaos as a result of chaotic decision-making or lack of decision-making. If you don't make a decision, the universe and the community will make it for you. And then you will be subject to whatever has been laid out for you. And a lot of times we don't like that. We don't feel in control. We don't have the freedom. So, it's either that or take on the responsibility and love yourself enough to make some more decisions. So those were decision-making techniques. Now we're going to get into mindset shifts, right? So we have core habits for better decisions we went through. Recognize your bias, frame the problem wisely, reflect on past choices, challenge your assumptions, label your emotions. We have decision-making techniques. We have whoop, smart, grow. Now we have mindset shifts. You have to accept uncertainty. And we hate that. We hate that. I hate uncertainty. But there's certain stuff we don't know. So accept uncertainty. No decision comes with a crystal ball. Embrace the unknown as a part of the process. Like my coach says, become comfortable being uncomfortable. Shout out GBs. Set a deadline. So accept uncertainty and set a deadline. Avoid analysis paralysis by giving yourself a time limit to decide. That's important. Because to us, we think we'll just have an aha moment. No, you create the aha moment. Create that deadline and stick to it. Trust your gut, but verify. That's important. It's all about balance. Yes, trust your gut, but sometimes we mix up our gut with our emotional entanglements and biases. So sometimes to be fully sure you're making the right decision, yeah, trust your gut, but verify. Intuition is powerful, especially when backed by experience and research and information. Just make sure it's not fear or guilt in disguise. Because like I said, sometimes it's hard to know when it's our intuition versus when it's our actual bias or fear. So those are the mindset shifts that need to happen. You need to accept uncertainty. You need to learn how to set deadlines. You need to learn how to trust your gut, but verify and research. So the last thing we're talking about today is tactical moves. What are some actionable things you can do to put these things into play? 1, pros and cons list. Classic, but still effective, especially when paired with emotional check-ins. Because like I said, we're constantly changing. We're constantly figuring out new things, especially as new information is brought to us. So, pros and cons list. Write it down. Type it out. Get it out your head. Literally, right? Like it needs to exist in a physical place. It needs to exist in a document. It needs to exist somewhere. Not just, oh yeah, it's in my head. It's in my head. You got so much in your head. Like your RAM is done, my guy. You need an upgrade. You need to get things off your plate. For those who don't know what RAM is, it's random access memory. It's a computer reference. I'm just saying your brain can only hold so much information that you can access right away. So like we can hold a lot of information, but there's only so much that you can readily access quickly. That's RAM. So you need to write things down because you're not perfect. You're human. And like what is the ego there that we think we need to be like these ridiculous cerebral beings that can just memorize everything and don't need tools? It's okay to use tools and make things easy on yourself. So write things down. Take that extra step because you might feel lazy and feel like that's too much, but I think it's worse living out a decision you didn't make or living out a bad decision and dealing with those consequences. To me, that's too much. So, next, ask for feedback. Get input from trusted sources, but don't outsource your choice entirely. We're always looking for someone to make a decision for us because then we have a fall guy. That's crazy. Get input from trusted sources, but make your own choice. Don't outsource your decisions. Stop looking for somebody else to make your decisions for you. And again, this ain't me yelling at y'all, judging y'all. This is me talking to me. This is me. This is the man in the mirror, right? Talking to herself. And even that, right? What's a trusted source? Because for me, I used to have faith in everybody. Everybody had potential. Everybody had something to teach me. Not true. Not everybody got shit to teach you, right? Not everybody got stuff to teach you. So what is a trusted source? What does that mean to you? And are you equating trusted sources with people who are naturally going to agree with you? Because then that's bias too. That's just you looking for confirmation versus you actually looking for information. So a lot of things to consider there. But get input from trusted sources. Don't outsource your choice entirely. And for those of us with trust issues, we're going to have to figure that one out. Take breaks. This is the last one. Take breaks. Step away from the problem to let your subconscious work on it. Step away from the problem. Back away. Back up. Let your subconscious work on it. Clarity often comes when you're not forcing it. Things should feel natural. Even when the process starting off might feel unnatural. But as you build this new habit of being thorough, being a good decision maker, and leading with your best foot forward, you will realize that it becomes easier and easier because it's just a muscle that you're flexing. It's a muscle that you're developing. And to me, it's a really essential life skill. For me, it would have saved me a lot because I was always looking for someone to tell me what to do, tell me the next step. And, I'm grateful that in high school I joined debate and it just made me think a little more critically and learn how to challenge certain things and ideas and speak to what was true in my heart. But even that had its downfall because I felt like a lot of us only researched things that supported our own claims. So it made us biased and academically closed off, funny enough. So it made us good arguers, but it didn't make us good teachers or listeners. So we'll get into that a whole nother episode. But for right now, I love y'all. You should love you. You should want to make more decisions. Take on some more decisions. I encourage y'all to do that. I encourage you to take on the day-to-day small decisions. Decide what you want to eat, what you want to wear, what you want to look like, how you want to act, how you want to laugh. Then start thinking about the bigger things. Don't be afraid to dream and push yourself. Don't cut yourself short and not think about what you want your life to look like. Does your life look like the way you want it to look like? What you might want to change, what you might want to keep the same or do more of, right? You might think my life is lit. I don't want to change nothing, but I might want to do more of this thing that makes me happy, whatever, right? I encourage y'all to go into it full-fledged. Y'all got this. Y'all are so intelligent. We have so much potential, and we can literally create galaxies. So stand on business. We are bad decision makers for the most part, and we need to get better. I said what I said, and it is what it is, and I love y'all. See y'all next time.
How? Watch me as I break this thing down now. You wanna know what it feels like to get